over the page you can see on the left the first page of Bradford's manuscript of Plymouth Plantation. A popular American history text refers to the Pilgrims as the spiritual ancestors of the American people. Two members of this original congregation who later became leading lights among the Pilgrims were William Bradford and William Brewster. All of you descend from William Brewster. Bradford's father was a prosperous farmer and landowner in Austerfield, Yorkshire, England. Both parents died, leaving young Bradford an orphan at an early age. He was raised by two paternal uncles. At the age of 12, he was already deeply immersed in the scriptures and began attending Puritan meetings 8 miles away, to which he would walk every Sunday. His family violently objected to his course, arguing that if he continued to associate with fantastical schismatics, he would lose everything he prized, his lands, his reputation, and his very soul. Nevertheless, young Bradford became convinced through prayer and meditation that he was on the right path. In spite of all the obstacles, he went on alone, nor could the wrath of his uncles, nor the scoff of his neighbors divert him from his course. Fortunately, he soon fell under the gentle and knowing hand of William Brewster, who befriended him and virtually adopted him as his son, the beginning of a lifelong intimacy that decisively shaped the Pilgrim story. Brewster was a well-to-do gentleman who was postmaster and bailiff receiver of the Manor of Scroby, Nottingham, England, just 2 miles south of Austerfield, where Bradford lived. Brewster was a strong and zealous Puritan, but he was neither harsh nor intolerant in his views, nor was he strident and contentious, as were many of his brethren. He was an extraordinarily gentle man, very sociable and pleasant among his friends. He was peaceable, soft-spoken, and humble. His tendency was to depreciate his own ability and overrate that of others. He was wise and discreet. He did more in a year to advance the Christian faith and spread the even broader gospel of simple human kindness than most men do in a lifetime, patiently doing the best he could and walking according to the light he saw till the Lord revealed further unto him. As the day for departure approached, the Pilgrims set aside a day of solemn fasting and prayer to seek the Lord's guidance and blessings in their undertaking, with a pouring out of prayers to the Lord, with great fervency mixed with abundance of tears. Those who were leaving were accompanied by their brethren to Delfts Haven, where the ship lay ready to receive them. So they left their goodly and pleasant city, which had been their resting place near 12 years. But they knew that they were pilgrims, and looked not much on those things, but lifted up their eyes to the heavens, their dearest country, and quieted their spirits. Manuscript, page 36. Bradford's famous statement, "They knew they were pilgrims," is followed by a footnote to Hebrews 11, where the Apostle Paul speaks of the faith and suffering of the ancient prophets and saints. Hebrews 11:13-16 reads as follows: "These all died in faith, not having the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, an heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city." On November 10th, land was sighted off of Cape Cod, and on the morning of November 11th, 1620, they rounded the tip of the cape into what is now Provincetown Harbor and dropped anchor. The feelings of the Pilgrims on this occasion are best expressed by William Bradford. "Being thus arrived in a good harbor and brought safe to land, they fell upon their knees and blessed the God of heaven, who had brought them over the vast and furious ocean, and delivered them from all the perils and miseries thereof, again to set their feet on the firm and stable earth, their proper element. But here I cannot but stay and make a pause, and stand half amazed at this poor people's present condition. And so I think will the reader too, when he well considers the same. Being thus past the vast ocean, and a sea of troubles before, in their preparation, as may be remembered by that which went before. They had now no friends to welcome them, nor inns to entertain or refresh their weather-beaten bodies, no houses, or much less towns to repair to seek for succor. It is recorded in Scripture, Acts 28, as a mercy to the apostle and his shipwreck company that the barbarians showed them no small kindness in refreshing them. But these savage barbarians, when they met with them, as after will appear, were ready to fill their sides full of arrows than otherwise. And for the country, and for the season it was winter, and they that know the winters of that country know them to be sharp and violent, and subject to cruel and fierce storms, dangerous travel in known places, much more to search an unknown coast. Besides, what could they see but a hideous and desolate wilderness full of wild beasts and wild men, and what multitude there might be of them they knew not. Neither could they, as it were, go up to the top of Pisgah to view from this wilderness a more goodly country to feed their hope. For which way soever they turned their eyes, save upward to the heavens, they could have little solace. If they looked behind them, there was the mighty ocean which they had passed, and was now as a main bar and gulf to separate them from all the several parts of the world. What could now sustain them but the Spirit of God and His grace? May not and ought not the children of these fathers rightly say, our fathers were Englishmen who came over this great ocean, were ready to perish in the wilderness, but they cried unto the Lord, and He heard their voice. Manuscript, pages 46-47. The first winter was one of incredible suffering and hardship. When the worst was over, only 3 married couples remained unbroken. Mortality ran highest among the wives, with only 5 of 18 surviving. More than half of the husbands also died, as did more than half of the single men, hired hands and servants. Only the very young escaped. Of 20 sons and daughters, only 3 died. This may be a coincidence, but it suggests that parents in general, and mothers in particular, sacrificed themselves for their children. This brief history of the Pilgrims began with the story of the discovery of William Bradford's important manuscript. It is appropriate to close this account with an experience that Bradford had just prior to his death in the spring of 1657. He had been failing in health for some months, yet he felt himself not what he counted sick, till the day after he had a startling vision in the night, which so filled his mind with ineffable consolation that he seemed little short of Paul, wrapped up unto unutterable entertainments of paradise. The next morning, he told his friends that the good Spirit of God had given him a pledge of His happiness in another world and the first fruits of His eternal glory, and on the day following he died in the 69th year of his age.